Rose was the second wife of King Adewale, ruler of the great kingdom of Oyediran. She was beautiful, her skin glowed like fresh palm oil under the sun, and her voice was soft like the evening breeze. People said the king had married her not only for her beauty, but also because she made him laugh when he was tired of matters of the throne. But Rose carried a secret in her heart, a dangerous secret that could destroy her if anyone found out. Every night, when the palace grew quiet and the king had gone to the first wife's chambers, Rose would slip out of her room like a whisper. She would walk across the stone courtyard, her bare feet making no sound. Waiting for her behind the thick walls was Bayo, the king's personal guard. Bayo was tall and strong, with eyes that watched everything. He had been the first man Rose loved before the king had chosen her. When the king asked for her hand, her family could not say no. Marrying a king was a blessing too big to refuse, and so Rose became a queen. But her heart remained tied to Bayo. The secret meetings were full of fire. Their bodies moved like two rivers flowing into one. They knew every inch of each other, every secret spot that brought joy. In those dark nights, Rose forgot she was a queen. She forgot she belonged to another man. But in the palace, no secret stayed hidden for long. The first wife, Queen Amoke, had always been suspicious. She watched Rose with eyes as sharp as a hawk. Amoke had ruled the palace alone for many years before Rose came. She knew the way of women, the way young brides could bring trouble if not watched. One evening, as the drums of sunset sounded across the palace, Amoke sent for her personal maid, Aduke. "Follow the second wife," Amoke whispered. "Watch where she goes at night. Bring me news." Aduke nodded and did as she was told. That very night, Rose slipped from her chambers as usual, her heart beating fast with the sweet excitement of seeing Bayo. She did not know Aduke was hiding in the shadows, her small feet quiet as a cat. Aduke saw everything. She watched as Rose melted into Bayo's arms behind the thick palace wall. She heard their soft moans, saw their stolen kisses under the pale moonlight. Aduke's heart jumped with shock. This was bigger news than she had expected. By morning, Aduke rushed to tell Queen Amoke everything. Amoke listened carefully, her face calm, but her heart burning with anger. She had waited too long, worked too hard, to let a foolish second wife bring shame to the royal house. She began to plan. 2 days later, King Adewale announced a great festival to celebrate the kingdom's harvest. There would be music, dancing, and sacrifices to the gods. Every palace member was required to attend, even the guards. Amoke smiled to herself. Her trap was ready. On the night of the festival, as drums beat and the air filled with the sweet smell of roasted meat, Amoke approached the king. "My husband," she said softly, bowing her head, "I have a gift for you tonight. A surprise in the garden. Come after the last dance." King Adewale smiled, pleased by her sweetness. Meanwhile, Amoke sent Aduke with a secret message to Bayo. "The second wife waits for you in the garden tonight." And she sent another secret message to Rose. "Bayo waits for you in the garden tonight." Neither Rose nor Bayo suspected anything. They thought it was another chance to be together under the stars. When the final dance ended, Rose wrapped a thin scarf around her shoulders and slipped out into the garden. Bayo was already there, waiting under the tall Iroko tree. His smile was wide, and Rose ran into his arms. They kissed, forgetting everything, lost in each other. Suddenly, torches lit up all around them. Heavy footsteps filled the garden. Rose turned and froze. King Adewale stood there, his face hard as stone. Beside him stood Queen Amoke, her lips twisted in a small, cruel smile. Behind them were the palace guards, Bayo's brothers, watching with shocked eyes. For a moment, no one moved. The night air was heavy with shame. King Adewale spoke, his voice low and heavy with anger. "Bayo," he said, "you were trusted with my life, and you have betrayed me." Bayo dropped to his knees. "My king, forgive me," he cried. "It was love. I could not stop." Rose, her legs weak, fell to the ground too. Tears ran down her face. "My king, I beg you. It was my fault. I am the guilty one." But the king's face did not soften. In Oyediran, betrayal was a heavy sin. The gods themselves frowned upon it. "You both have disrespected the crown," the king said. "The gods demand justice." He turned to the guards. "Take Bayo away." As they dragged Bayo off, Rose cried out, "No, please spare him." But the king did not answer her. He walked away, his royal robe sweeping the grass. Queen Amoke stayed behind. She looked down at Rose, who lay broken on the ground. "You were never meant to be queen," Amoke said softly. "You were just a girl who played with fire." Then she too turned and left. The next day, the whole palace buzzed with whispers. Servants talked behind their hands. Guards shook their heads sadly. No one dared speak to Rose. She was no longer queen in their eyes. She was a fallen woman. King Adewale did not banish Rose, but he did worse. He ordered her to live in a small dark house at the very edge of the palace grounds. No more golden dresses, no more sweet oils, no more music. She lived alone, her days empty, her nights filled with silent tears. No one knew what happened to Bayo. Some said he was sent far away to the northern borders to serve as a common soldier. Others said he was locked in a secret prison deep inside the palace. Rose never found out. In the lonely months that followed, Rose often sat by a small window, looking up at the same stars where she once kissed Bayo. She thought about the fire they shared, a fire that had burned everything she had. She did not blame Bayo. She did not even blame the king. She blamed herself for forgetting that in a palace, love was a dangerous thing. The once beautiful queen had become a shadow of herself, but in her heart, she still kept a small ember of hope alive. The memory of a love so strong, it made even the stars weep. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind blew through the trees, Rose would close her eyes and swear she could still feel Bayo's arms around her, warm, strong, and forever forbidden. Many moons passed, the seasons changed, the rain came and went. Still, Rose lived alone at the far end of the palace, forgotten by everyone. She grew thinner, her laughter disappeared. Only the memory of Bayo warmed the cold nights. But fate is like a river. It twists and turns when you least expect. One morning, the palace was full of noise. Messengers rode in from the northern borders, their horses covered in dust. The kingdom was under threat. A rebel group had attacked the villages at the edge of Oyediran. The king's soldiers had fought bravely, but they were losing ground. The king called all his chiefs and warriors to a meeting in the great hall. His face was troubled. "We need a brave man," he said, "someone who knows the land, someone who fears nothing. We need a man to lead our army and bring victory." The palace fell silent. Then an old chief spoke up. "My king," he said, "there is such a man. He serves at the northern borders. He fights like a lion. His name is Bayo." The king's face darkened. He remembered the betrayal, the shame, but he also knew he could not let his kingdom fall. "Send for him," he said. 2 weeks later, Bayo returned to Oyediran. He looked different, older, harder. His skin was rough from the sun, his body full of new scars, but his eyes still burned with the same fire. The people whispered when they saw him. Some feared him, others admired him. King Adewale called Bayo to the throne room. "You have a chance to redeem yourself," the king said. "Lead my army, win this war, do this, and your shame will be washed away." Bayo knelt and touched his forehead to the ground. "I will serve you with my life, my king," he said. The next day, Bayo led the royal army into battle. For weeks, the kingdom held its breath. Finally, news came. Bayo had won a great victory. The rebels had been defeated. Peace returned to the land. The people sang Bayo's name. They beat drums in his honor. Children danced in the streets. King Adewale was pleased, very pleased. He sent for Bayo once again. "You have saved Oyediran," the king said. "You have earned your freedom." He removed the punishment placed on Bayo's name. He allowed him to live as a free man, no longer a servant or prisoner. But there was one more thing. The king turned to Queen Amoke and his chiefs. "My people," he said, "it is time to heal old wounds." He sent a messenger to the small house at the edge of the palace, to Rose. When Rose heard the messenger's knock, her heart almost stopped. "You are summoned by the king," the messenger said. She wrapped herself in a plain cloth and followed him, her feet trembling. In the great hall, everyone was waiting. The king sat on his throne. Queen Amoke stood beside him, her face like stone, and there near the steps of the throne stood Bayo. Rose's eyes filled with tears when she saw him, his face, his strong hands, his deep eyes. It was really him. The king stood. "Rose," he said, his voice deep, "you have paid for your mistakes. You have suffered enough." He looked at Bayo. "And you, Bayo, have proven your loyalty to the kingdom." The king paused. The whole hall held its breath. "I give you both a new life," he said at last. "Not as my wife and my guard, but as two people who once loved and still love." There was a gasp among the chiefs. Rose fell to her knees. Bayo bowed his head low. "You are free," the king said. "Free to leave Oyediran. Free to live your lives together, far from this palace, far from its heavy walls." Tears ran down Rose's cheeks. She could not speak. Her heart felt so full it could break. Bayo stepped forward. He helped her to her feet. Their hands touched. After so many painful nights, they finally touched again, not in secret, but in the open, under the eyes of the gods. Without a word, they left the palace together, hand in hand. Outside the palace gates, the sun was shining bright, and the breeze smelled of sweet grass. Rose turned to look back one last time. The palace stood tall and proud, a place of power, a place of sorrow. She turned away and faced the open road ahead. Beside her, Bayo squeezed her hand. Together, they walked into their new life, not as a queen and a guard, not as people filled with guilt, but as two souls who had fought for their love and finally won. Their hearts beat together as one, free at last under the endless African sky.